All right. So the second half of the semester, we start today, the second half of the semester, and we are going to look into server-side programming, right? The first half, the first 6, 7 weeks, we use client-side programming, right? So we're going to explain the difference between server-side and client-side, and we're going to give an introduction to Node in the first hour. In the second hour, we are going to give an introduction to Express, right? So this is what we are covering today. In this first hour, we are going to talk about node introduction, the benefits of server-side programming. We are going to look into how to create and run in a Node app. We are going to learn how to install packages. We are going to import packages. We are going to learn the difference between a function declaration and a function expression. And we are going to look into the function arrow syntax. All that in 1 hour. Don't forget to join Zoom. I see that several students are missing today for some reason, maybe because it's midterms, exams, they may be studying or something. Remember that you can miss only 5 classes. After missing 5 classes, you will lose 5% of the total grade, right? So please be in Zoom so you don't be marked as present. As absent. All right. So I will explain about full stack development. Full stack development includes front-end development. We have covered front-end development the first 6 weeks of the class. So we covered HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those are the main technologies for front-end development. And for back-end development, we are going to have the application server. We have the web server and also a database server. These technologies. All right. There are several implementations of client-side technologies. You might have heard about Angular, jQuery, React, Bootstrap. All of these are like JavaScript frameworks or CSS frameworks that work in the client. You don't need a web server for them. You can work on them in the client, right? And there are other technologies that work on the server, like PHP, MySQL, PostgreSQL, all these different databases. All right. So again, these are the technologies for front end, and these are some of the technologies for back end. JavaScript is all the way at the bottom. It's only one of multiple technologies that you can use on the server side. So you can also use Python, you can use Ruby, PHP, even Java, right? All of these technologies can be used in the server. The one that we are going to use over here in this class is JavaScript. So we're going to continue working with JavaScript, right? So we're going to learn Node. As a matter of fact, about like 5 years ago, I was still teaching PHP. PHP is like it used to be a very robust technology for web development. Many applications are created in PHP. You might have heard of Facebook, initially created in PHP, Moodle, Drupal, WordPress, all of that was created in PHP. But the trend is to learn Java or JavaScript for web development. Right? Even Python, there are several servers now running Django. So the decision was to go for Python or Django or Node or Express, right? We were thinking about Django or Express. We decided to go for Node because for Django, you need to know Python, right? And we realized that in this class, not everybody knows Python. Most of you know Python, but several transfer students haven't used Python before. So it will be difficult for them to learn another programming language on the top of learning web programming, right? So that's the reason why we decided to go with Node and Express, because it's using JavaScript. So hopefully it's going to be a little bit easier for you to learn Node and Express. All right. So far, we have used static web servers. The technology that we have used in the first 6 weeks of the class is static web servers, right? So how does static web servers work? Well, you have a browser. You enter in the browser a URL, like mysite.com, and then the name of the web page about HTML, right? The web server, the only thing that the web server does is to send the response, send the file that you are requesting, right? So it's going to send the file about HTML, right? It will also send all of the files that are embedded within about HTML. So it will be the CSS, the JavaScript, all of that. It's going to be all of the images, all of the content is going to be sent as part of the response, right? However, the server doesn't do anything. It's just sending the file, right? You just ask for the file and the server gives you the file. That's the only work that the web servers, static web servers have, all right? Now, dynamic web servers use web application frameworks. So they have more work to do. The browser is going to send the URL with the path. Now, pay attention that it's not a web page anymore. It's not about that HTML, right? It's just, it's just about, right? This is called the route. In terms of web application frameworks, this is called the route, right? So it's not sending the name of the file, but it's just sending the name of the route. Now, the server is going to go with the application server. The application server can run in Java, in Python, in JavaScript, in different programming languages. And it's going to search for the reference of about. What is about? What is the resource that is related to about? What is the association between about and the web page that needs to be sent, right? And then if there is any database connectivity, if there is any information that needs to be retrieved from the database, it's going to access the database to get information and display it within the application server. And then it's going to send to the file the file that was associated with this route, right? The file in this case is about me.ejs, which is different than about, right? So the application server has to go to this list of routes and then has to check which is the corresponding file name that it needs to send, all right? If the browser sends about me.ejs, the server is not going to send that file directly, right? So in the web application servers, we are going to use the MVC model, the model view controller. And the controller is going to be like the gatekeeper of information, right? It's not going to send any file unless it is included in the list of routes that are authorized to get the corresponding files. It will become clearer. It will become clearer when we start programming it. All right. So what are some benefits of backend programming? Why do we want to have backend programming? Well, first of all, it's going to allow us to hide information, right? For lab 3, all of you did like a quiz, right? If you have anyone taking your quiz, anyone will get 100 because all they need to do is go to the source code and see the answers there, right? If you are using web APIs and you have the web API key over there, anyone will be able to steal your web API key, right? So this is like probably one of the most important benefits of using backend programming, right? You can hide the information. It's not going to be in plain JavaScript on the browser. It's going to be in the server, right? Also, you can use partials. Remember when you did, I believe it was homework assignment 1, that you have to do 4 pages about different topics related to computer science, right? And you have different pages, right? And probably all of them have the same header, the banner at the top, and the navigation menu, and the footer, right? So the way that you did that, you had to duplicate that code, right? So imagine you have like a real website with 100 pages, and all of them have the same header, navigation, and footer. And if you want to change something, you will need to make a change in all of the files one by one, right? So when you have partials, this is partial code that you can use, and it can be applied to multiple files. So you need to change only one file, and that partial code will be applied to multiple files, right? So it's only one set of code. Another one very, very helpful very important, is templating. So you can have only one page, and that page can be a template to display the same, not the same information, but the same kind of information for multiple instances. I'm thinking, for instance, like, I don't know, like a movie store, right? Imagine how many movies you can have in a movie store. You have one page, one web page for each movie. We have like thousands of web pages, right? So you have like the bookstore, right? You have a web page for each book. Will be like so many books, right? So many pages, I mean. So with templating, you can have only one web page, and the only thing that you need to change is the title of the book, the cover of the book, the ISBN, and the information for the book, because all of the information is the same. Not the same, but it's similar for many books, right? They have the same information. So you have the description, the title, the author. So they will be the same fields, right? And another benefit, you have access to the database, and you can create your own web applications, your own web APIs. With client-side programming, you can just use them, but you cannot create them. Right? Any questions about the benefits? So when we work on backend programming, it's going to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say difficult, but a little bit more time-consuming, more involved. There are more steps than client-side programming. However, just keep in mind all of these benefits. You can get all of these benefits when you do backend programming. All right? So we are going to use Node. What is Node? It's an open source cross-platform that is going to allow us to run JavaScript on the terminal window, right? Hopefully all of you are familiar with Java runtime environment, the JRE. So it's something similar. When you think about Node, just think about like a way to run JavaScript on a terminal window, right? Before Node, the only way that you could write JavaScript or you could run and execute JavaScript was in the browser, in a web browser. Now, Node makes it possible to run JavaScript in a terminal window. Okay, so it's a JavaScript runtime environment. You need to install Node. We are going to use it. Hopefully all of you got my announcement last Friday, and you already installed it. If you haven't installed it yet, you need to go over here, go to this link, and install Node. Do you get my announcements? Do you read them? Probably you might not read them, right? Try to read my announcements. It's not only reminders. Sometimes I ask you to do things before the class. And this last Friday, I asked all of you to install Node. Okay, so please install Node. We are going to use it. All right. Question: is Node a programming language? It's not, right? Node is not a programming language. Node uses JavaScript as the programming language. It's a JavaScript runtime environment. All right. This is really important, and you have a way to write it down so you don't make this mistake, because many students make this mistake in previous classes. Hopefully you won't be one of them. Node has nothing to do with the DOM, with the browser. So Node runs in the terminal window, right? So when we write Node programs, please do not use document query selector. That will not work, right? Because Node has no way to access the elements in the browser, right? Do not use alert. Alert doesn't work in Node because, again, alert is part of the browser, right? There are no HTML elements. It's just a terminal interface. You can use plain JavaScript only. All right? So you can write it down. I just try to remember because several students have this mistake when we are working in Express. They try to use document query selector in the controller when we write the code in Node. All right. So let us start using Node. Let us create our first Node app. So we are going to create a Node app in our computer. We're going to make an array and display the array, right? So let's do it. So first of all, you need to open the terminal. So just, if you are using a Mac, go to the search tool and then just type terminal. And this is going to open a terminal window, right? If you're using Windows, what do you use? CMD? You need to type CMD to open the command line or the terminal window. All right. So we're going to keep using the practice folder. Go to your practice folder and let us create a new folder. This is going to be Node-intro. All right. So we are creating a new folder inside the practice folder. Okay. So every time that you create a Node application, you need to create a folder that is going to run the Node application. Right. Now we need to go within that folder. In the terminal window, to go to a specific folder, you need to type CD, right? Hopefully all of you are familiar with these kind of Unix commands. CD means change directory. And in my case, I have my folder with inside the desktop. You might have it in a different folder. So you need to go to the folder where you have your CST336 folder. Over here, I have my CST336 folder. You know what? Probably you just type CD and just drag the Node intro folder to the terminal. I think this should work. Just drag it and drop it, and then just hit enter. That might be easier for everybody. All right. Does it work on Windows too? Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. So we are inside the folder. You can type pwd, print working directory, to see the current directory where you are. Okay. The following slide 12, has the steps that I will explain. So we are inside the folder, right? We need to create this folder as a Node application. For that, we are going to run npm init, right? npm init, right? And then hit enter. So this is going to initialize this folder as a Node application. It's going to run a utility that is going to prompt us several questions about this Node application. So it's asking us for the package name. By default, it's going to give us the name of the folder. So the folder was intro. Ignore the hyphen. You can just hit enter. There is no need to change it. It's going to ask us for the version of the application. We can just hit enter. It's going to tell us the full values. It's asking us for the description. If this was like a real application, you can describe what it is. We don't have to do it right now. We can just hit enter. Now it's asking us for the entry point. You can just hit enter. That's okay. We can just accept the full values. And then it's asking us if that's okay. Just hit enter. And that's it, right? So we accepted all the full values. We don't need to change anything, all right? At the end, it's going to create a new file. If you go to your folder, to the Node intro folder, you should see that there is a new file called package.json. Okay. This is the file that Node is going to use to check all of the different packages, the libraries that the application uses. Let us open it. I will open it with VS Code. And you see that the content of this package is exactly the same as the utility that we have over here, right? So at any moment you can come back and then you can change, you can update this content. All right. Any questions so far? Now let us create a new file. So let us create a new file, new file. And then let us name it index.mjs. Okay. So let us create a new file and we are calling it index.mjs. And we are going to save it in the Node intro folder. So open VS Code, and then let us just like do console.log and just type anything that you want, like hello world, anything. And then save it. Now go to the terminal and then type node and then index.mjs. And you should be able to see the output on the console. All right. Did it work for all of you? Awesome. Okay. Very good. Let us create an array and let us display the array. So we're going to use letters. This is going to be an array of letters. All right. And we're going to display the array. In the terminal window, you need to type every time the same command. You can just use the arrow keys, use the arrow key pointing up, and it's going to display the previous commands. All right. Did it work for all of you? Are you able to display the array? All right, let's wait until everybody is able to display the array, or almost everybody. So we have created the application, created the array, and displayed the array already. All right. So now let us suppose that we want to shuffle the array. Okay, so we want to display the arrays in a random order every time. So we could write our own function, right, to shuffle the array. But let us assume that we are too lazy to create our own function, and we want to just use one existing function, right? So we want to use a library, an existing library. By the way, in Node terminology, libraries are called packages, right? So we want to install a package. Okay. So how to search for packages? How to install packages? Well, there's the npm website. It's npmjs.org. And you can search for packages in this website. Okay. Last semester, when we were trying to use it, somehow the website thought that since we are all using the same IP address, it thought that we were attacking the website, and then we're not able to continue using it. So we had to switch to another website. But ideally, you need to use this one, npmjs, to search for packages. All right. So let us try to find a way to shuffle an array. Let's see if this thing works. All right. So you can see over here the name of the different packages. Right. This one over here, D3 array manipulation, ordering, searching, summarizing. It's too much. It has like so many functionalities, right? We only want like a functionality to shuffle, and that's it, right? So ideally, you need to search for a package that only contains the function that you need, there is no need to have like a lot of additional functions, right? So let us take a look to this one, fast shuffle. Okay, so this one over here is going to be helpful. We're going to use this one to shuffle the array. In the documentation, you can always see how to install it and how to use it, right? So we just need to follow the documentation. I have over here the steps for installing a packages, any package. First, you need to install it, and then you need to import it. I will put the steps over here so we don't forget. So you need to install the package to use it, and then you need to import it. Those are two steps. Oh, I forgot to mention this npm init. You can use npm init -y. This is to run npm init in silent mode. So it will not ask you all of these questions to create a configuration file. So let me demonstrate that, might be helpful. So if I want to initialize the application, instead of doing npm init like that, I can use npm -y, hit enter, and this is going to create the package.json file with the default values, right? So we don't need to hit enter multiple times. Was that clear? Okay, so this is to initialize the application. All right. So again, steps to use packages. Well, first of all, you need to find the package that you want to use, right? So we have already found the package. We want to use this one. What do we need to do next? We need to install it. How do we install it? Go to the terminal window and type npm install, and then the name of the package. What did we say is what was it? Okay, fast, thank you. -shuffle. You need to type it as is and then hit enter. And this is going to install the package. All right. The first time that you install a package is going to create a new folder called Node Modules. So you should be able to see this folder, right? And if you open the package.json file, I will open it again. You should be able to see the package that was installed within the dependencies folder, right? So this is telling you that you have already installed that package, right? So the package is there. Now, you can even expand the Node Modules folder, and you should be able to see the package that you install is over here. And you can even see the code. So let's take a look to the code. Go to the index.js folder, and then open it with Visual Studio Code. All right. This is also a good way to learn programming. If you take a look to the code of others. All right. So we have already installed it. Now we need to import it to use it. We need to import it. So to import it, we need to go all the way to the top. And then, well, let's take a look to the documentation. Yeah, this is the way to import it. All right. In this case, this is importing this function. It's importing the function shuffle, right, from this file. All right. So if you don't import it, then you cannot use it, right? First, you need to install it and then import it. And now to use it, we are going to use something like this. I will just copy this line. Instead of deck will be letters. and I will display the original array and then the shuffle array. Right? Now you can go to the terminal. And then run node index. And you should be able to see the original array and then the shuffle array. All right. Did it work for all of you? All right. So again, we can use plain JavaScript. We cannot use document query selector over here because it's not a browser. We cannot use alert, right? Because this is not a browser. However, we can use plain JavaScript like we are doing it over here. So let's take a look to the presentation and see what else we need to do. So these are the steps to use a node package. Look for the package, install it, and import it. And then you need to refer to the documentation about how to use it. All right? So we have installed the package using npm install. Optionally, you can use npm I. So you need to type install, just type I. That's a shortcut. Okay. Any question? Now, this is important. This is really, really important. So please pay attention to this. There are two ways to embed packages. There are two ways. The one that we have just covered, import. And this is the latest one, the latest way to, as you may know, all of the programming languages, they have like new versions, right? They have, people are still developing, they never finish improving their programming languages. So JavaScript is like improving every year. There are new versions of JavaScript. And the latest version is using import from, okay? Previous versions use require, the require way. Now, this is already deprecated. This is highly discouraged to use. Why? Because when you use require, you are importing, you are embedding all of the file. This file might have like 100 functions. And if you use only one of them, you have still all of those 100 functions in your package, right? In your application. When you use import from is going to use only the function that you are using, right? So this is more efficient, right? So we are going to try to avoid using require. However, some packages, when they were created originally, they were created using require. So instead of using require, we need to use await import, right? So if we use await import, we are going to be able to keep using packages that use the require method. All right, I will explain this again. Let us install now this package, Success Motivational Quotes. So we want to use and install this package to display a random famous quote or motivational quote. Okay, so first you need to look for the package. So this is the package. Go to npm JS and then search for the package. All right. This is a package that display random motivational quotes. Okay, we want to use it. So you can see over here that they are using require, right? Now, if we copy this line of code and put it in our program like this, all right? And now we try to run it. It says that require is not defined in ES module scope, right? So we cannot have import and require mix up. We cannot combine both of them. It's one or the other. All right. So we need to make this required to be import, right? Is that clear? So we cannot have import and require in the same program. Okay. So it's an easy solution. Instead of using require, all we need to do is use await import. Right? So instead of require, you use await import, then put parentheses. And then put default. And then run it again. Okay. It's telling me that it doesn't exist because I haven't installed it, right? I have over here the steps. So I skip the first step, right? Even though I have over here the steps that I need to follow, I skip the first one. So I need to install it first, okay? So you need to go to the terminal and then install it. So it's npm I to install it. And then the name of the package is success motivational quotes, right? So remember, you need to install it. To install it, you use npm I or npm install. And then the name of the package. All right. Now it install it. And now we use import, right? So I skipped the first step and I went for the second one without doing the first one first. Okay. Now I can run. I don't get any errors, but I didn't get any famous quote because I haven't used this package yet. Also, pay attention over here. What did we say about using await? Remember? Yes. What did we say? Yes, exactly. But do you remember that we needed to use something else, Liam? Yeah, exactly. However, this is like a newer version of JavaScript. In the newest version, you don't need to use a function. You can use await without the async keyword if it's outside of the function. If we put it inside of the function, then we need to use async, right? Inside, yes. However, you cannot do this in the JavaScript client, in the client JavaScript that we were using before, right? It had to be inside of the function before. But in the latest version of JavaScript, you can have await outside of the functions, all right? Now, how do we use the package to display a random quote? Well, we need to refer to the documentation. This is to display all categories. We don't want that. We just want to display the random quote. So we need to use something like this. Is get today's quote. All right. Get today's quote like this. Run it. I didn't, I need to console.log it. So console.log. All right. So we should be able to get a quote. Okay. I got this one from the documentation, right? So you need to refer to the documentation of the packages to use the corresponding functions. All right. We need to put this into a function. It says over here, display, create a function to display the random quote. Okay, so they want us to create a function. Let us do that. So we can use functions over here. Function, display, quote. We can just move this and put it inside the function. Okay. if we want to display the quote, we need to call the function, right? It will not be displayed if we have this line inside the function, because the function will not be executed automatically. You need to call the function. All right, so we have this function call. We run it, and we should be able to see that this is still displaying the quote. All right, did it work for all of you? All right. So if you think about this code, you might be a little bit surprised that the function is called even though the function is farther down, isn't it? Isn't it a little bit strange? Like usually if you haven't initialized something, you shouldn't be able to access it, right? So how come we are able to display, how come we are able to run the function when the function is declared farther down? Can anyone try to explain why, Liam?
Because JavaScript is compiled.
It's compiled, and when it's compiling, what is it doing in the process of compiling it?
I think it works the same way as regular Java, where it's it also has the interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
It's forward.
Yeah, what it's doing at the moment to compile is moving all of the functions all the way at the top. So we don't notice it, but all of the functions are called hoisted. Hoisted is the process that they are elevated, they are put all the way at the top, right? So when the program runs, all of the functions are moved to the top. That's the reason why we are able to call the function like this. Even though we see them that they are all the way at the bottom or any place, when the program runs, all of the functions are moved all the way to the top. This over here is called a function declaration. All right, so this is a function declaration. These also function expressions. How to create a function expression? Well, I will duplicate this function. I will call this declaration. I will need to make the function name will be a constant. Okay, the function name is a constant. Now I will move the word function and put it after the function name, and then add an equal symbol. All right, now this is a function expression. Okay, so this is the difference between function declaration and function expressions. Why do we want to have function expressions? Well, when you have function expressions, you can pass a function as a parameter, as an argument to another function, right? So we can pass this display quote constant because this is a function. So we can pass it as a parameter to another function, right? Now, if you want to run it like this, it says that we cannot access display quote before initialization. So the difference is that function expressions are not moved at the top, right? So if you want to use function expressions, you have to move them before you call them. So it has to be here, right? Again, if you're using function expressions, they need to be declared before you call them. Yes, Liam?
What's the value of using a function expression over a regular?
Yeah, very good question. So one of the main values, there are probably two main values. One of them is that you can use this function as an argument, as a parameter. So in this way, you cannot pass this function as a parameter to another function, right? So when you have it like this, you can pass display quote as a parameter to another function. And then another benefit, another advantage of using this kind of functions is that you can use the new syntax of functions. It's called the arrow key. So instead of is the arrow syntax, Instead of having function, you need to type function, just remove it, and then after the parentheses, you just type an arrow. Okay, so this is going to be a more compact version. And I have over here a slide that explains the arrow syntax. So that's another benefit of using that. You don't have to use it for this class. Just explaining because you might come across this arrow syntax. So this arrow syntax over here means that it's a function. Yes, Justin?
You repeat for the function expression, you're able to pass a function as a parameter for another?
To another function. Yes, exactly. Yes. When you have function expressions. And also when you have function expressions, you can use the arrow syntax for functions. This is an example of using the arrow syntax. Probably all of you are familiar with the first function declaration. So this function receives a parameter called params, and we are returning params times 2, right? Very, very easy to understand. Now, a shortcut, like a more condensed version of this function, using the arrow syntax, will be the constant equals, and then params is the parameter, and then it's going to return params times 2. Okay. So the very first time that you see it might be a little bit confusing, as like, what the heck are they doing, right? But once you become familiar with the syntax, when you become more familiar with it, when you use it more often, you will notice that it's a little bit easier. You don't have to write a lot. So again, you need to worry about using the arrow syntax. I know that it might be a little bit confusing. I am mainly explaining it because you might come across some code that uses the arrow syntax. So just you know that whenever you see an arrow, that means that it's a function, right? All right. Next thing, let us install the Node Fetch package. In order to use Fetch to get data from a web API, we need to use a package called Node Fetch. And then we are going to be able to use Fetch in this way. All right. So let us install the Node Fetch package. And let us try to display a random famous quote using this web API. So let me copy this URL. I will put it in the chat window. All right. If you click on it, you should be able to see a random famous quote. Okay. So we want to display that in the Node application that we created. All right. So go to npm JS and then search for Node Fetch. And then click on it. Okay. And you can see the steps. So first you need to install it, right? You can copy this line to install it. So you need to go to that terminal, and then you need to install Node Fetch. All right. After that, we can import it. So go to the code. And then I will copy the second line to import it. Like this. All right. And now we can use it. The response equals await fetch URL. We need to create a variable called URL as well, and have over here the web API. All right. Notice that I am able to use await, and I am outside of the function. I don't need to create a function to use await anymore. All right. So we can see now that we are able to display the data from the web API. Okay. So this over here is the quote from the web API. And this is the quote from the Node package. Right? Again, we can put this within a function, and if we move it within a function, then we need to use async, similar to what we did before. So right now we are just using the terminal, right? However, we want to display this information on a web page, right? So everybody was able to access this information. Everybody can see the famous quotes and all of that. So for that, we need to use a special package that is going to allow us to run this in a web browser, right? So we need to have a special package that is going to run a server, a web server. And that package is called Express. So Express is just another package, just like very similar to these other packages. We need to import Express, and we need to use Express, right? So you go to the npm.js and just search for Express. You should be able to see the information, the documentation for Express. All right. So this is the code, the initial code to use Express, right? They're using require over here. However, we can also use import for Express. Okay. Let us create a new folder. Let us create a new folder to start using Express. So let us go outside of the Node intro. And within the practice folder, create another one, create a new folder. And let us call it Express intro, Express-intro. All right. So we have another folder. So we don't combine, we don't mix up with what we have learned about Node with Express. Just create a new folder called Express. Now, to go out one folder above, you need to use cd change directory space ... and that will go one folder up, right? So right now we're in the practice folder, and then we're going to do cd express intro. All right. So right now we are inside the express intro folder. All right. Okay, so let us review again. So we want to create a new Node application, right? Express is a Node application. So what is the first command that I need to type to make this folder a Node application? npm init. Very good, Brian. Thank you. So we have it over here. It's a reminder over here at the top. npm init -y. You don't want to type hit enter multiple times. So npm init -y and hit enter. Okay. So from now on, you need to do this in every class, right? Whenever we create a new folder for a Node application, a new lab, a new assignment, you need to do npm init -y. All right. If you go to that folder, you should be able to see the package.json file that was created. All right. Next step, we need to create the index.mjs file. So go to Visual Studio Code and then create a new file. This is going to be index.mjs. And now save it within the Express intro folder. All right. And over here, we need to run the Express application. So if you go to Canvas, I made available the initial code for an Express application. You should be able to see it. It's in the last link. Just click on it. And let us copy this code. Copy and paste it. All right. And I will explain the code line by line. The first two lines are about Express. So we are importing the Express package. As you can see in the documentation, they are using require. However, we say that require is already deprecated. So we are using the new method, the new way to import packages. So we use import Express. And then we are declaring a new constant, the app constant, to be able to use Express. All right. This line over here is about the templating language. When you use the web frameworks use a new language, a templating language, to create the web pages. And the templating language that we are using is called EJS, right? So this line of code over here is telling Express that we are going to use EJS to create the web pages. I will explain this later. Just keep in mind that this is to create the web pages. This line of code over here is telling Express where is the public folder, the static folder. This is the folder for all of the images. In the first 6 weeks of the semester, we use a folder called IMG, right, for all of the images. Now, we need to have a folder in which all of the static files, like the CSS, the images will be. They are going to be separated from the views, from the templates. They will be in a different folder. Okay. This over here is called the route. So we can call it over here routes. This is the first route, the initial route. It doesn't have any name, just the forward slash. So this is called the root route. The root route. Okay. And this over here is starting the web server. And it's going to start the server by default in port 3000. So this is the name of this is the number of the port, right? We're going to use port 3000 for Express applications. All right, save it. All right, now did we already install Express? Okay, so we need to do that, right? The first step is to install and then import, right? So we're doing it in the opposite way. We import it first and then install it, but that's okay, right? The important thing is that you do both. You need to install and then import. So let us go to the terminal window, npm install. We need to install Express. And then we need to install the EJS package as well. So you need to run npm I express space EJS. So from now on, please install these two packages every time that you create a new Express application, right? So we need to use npm I express EJS and then hit enter. All right, so it already installed both of them. Now to run it, you need to do node index.mjs and then hit enter. And then you get this message, server started. Now you need to go to your browser and type localhost, and it's running on port 3000. This is the way to specify the port is colon and then 3000. And then hit enter. All right. And this is the output of what we are looking, what we are displaying over here. All right. Now over here, I can have HTML code. I can make this an H1. I can use H1 over here. Save it. I need to stop the server. To stop it, press Control C to stop it, and then run it again. And you see that it's applying the HTML tags, these H1s. Okay. Now, you could have over here the whole web page, but your code is going to become very messy, right? So you don't want to have all your web page over here, like the code. You might want to have the web page in a different folder, right? So you can render that file. So let us do that. For that, we need to create a new folder. All of the web pages are going to be in a folder called views. Okay, this is part of Express. So you have to have all your web pages within the folder views, right? Web frameworks tell you what are the names of the folders that you can use. So you just need to find out what is the name of the folders, the conventions for the web frameworks, and you just need to follow it. Okay. Now, let us create a web page for this. So I will go to Visual Studio Code and create a new file. And I will call home. That the extension will be EJS. Okay. So instead of using HTML, we're going to use EJS. And put it inside the Express Intro folder. Okay. This is going to be your web page. So this is going to have the initial code. Yes, Tyler? Oh, yeah, you're right. Inside the views folder. Yeah, it has to be inside the views folder. Thank you, Tyler. I need to put it inside the views folder. Good observation. So I will need to move it. I will move it later. I will move it right now. So I will close it. It has to be inside the views folder. So let me move this home EJS inside the views folder. If it's not inside the views folder, it will not work. It has to be within the views folder. All right. So I have home EJS over there. I will open it. And then just type something. You can type whatever you want, right? All right. Now, instead of using over here send, I will comment it out. And I will use response.render. And then the name of the file, which is home. Well, I don't need to specify the extension, just home. All right. So we are rendering the file home. Home.js. All right. Now I will need to stop the server. You need to stop the server every time you make any change to the index.mjs. You need to stop it and run it again. Now you can see the content of the web page. All right. Now, let us see what happens if I remove the view engine line. I will comment it out and then save it and then try to run it again. Okay. Right now, it says server started. But now I'm getting an error because it says that no default engine was specified, right? So we are not able to display the web page because we haven't specified the web engine that we want, the view engine that we want to use. So we need to tell Express that we want to use EJS as the view engine. There are several other view engines. You can choose one of them, and then you can use, there's like 4 or 5 different view engines. However, EJS is probably like the most common one, the most popular one. Okay, now let us display another route. So let us become familiar how to display another route. This is going to display a famous quote. So let us call over here this route quote. All right. And this is going to render a new file called random quote. All right. So you want to display a random famous quote in this file. All right. Now let us create that file, random quote. So we need to go to file, new file. This is going to be random quote.ejs. And it has to be inside the views folder. Okay, this is another web page. So we have created another route, and this route is going to display the content of the file called random quote. Okay. You need to run again the file, the node index.mjs to restart the server. And now you need to type in the URL the name of the route. The name of the route is this one over here, quote, and then hit enter. Control C, Control C, right? Well, if you're in, okay, yeah, if you're in Windows, is Control C still? Okay. Yeah, I know that in Mac, you need to use Control C. All right. So we are able to display the content. Now, let us try to use the name of the file over here, random quote.ejs. We are not able to display the file, right? So this is the name of the file, is random quote, but we are not able to display it. We can only display the content that is in the route, when the route, using the route name. So we need to use the route name. In this case is a quote. Now, how to display the random quote? Yes, Tyler?
You have to have like
If you want to navigate, for instance, if you want to go back to go home, go home. So there will be a link to go home. And then if you are on the index, I will open the index, the home EJS. You have the route like this. So this is the way to navigate, right? All right. Now, how to display a random quote? Well, if we want to get the random quote using fetch, first we need to install node fetch. So we need to stop the server and then run npm install node fetch. So we need to install it first. And then we need to require it, very similar to what we have already done in the node intro. Just require it. and then you can use it. I will copy this code over here and put it inside the quote route. Okay. Now, if we use await, we need to declare the function as asynchronous. The function is over here, is using the arrow syntax. Remember, the arrow syntax, it means that this is a function, right? So this is a function like this. Okay. So we need to declare this function as asynchronous. All right. If you want to use the arrow syntax, just remove the keyword function, remove that, and then put the arrow after the parentheses, like this. And then save it. And then run it again. And then when you go to the route quote, you should be able to see all of the information from the web API. We don't see it yet on the web page. We see it on the console right now. All right. How to display it on the web page? Well, for that, we need to pass the data, this data over here. We need to pass it to the view. To pass it, we need to have over here a comma, and then we need to use an object, right? So we need to pass an object. So remember, the syntax for the object will be the property. We can have quote, and then the corresponding value. What is the property for the quote? Is a quote text, right? So it will be data that quote text. Like this, right? So we're passing the quote like this. And now we can access the value using this property, quote. Okay. This over here is the property that we are passing, quote, right? Now, in order to display it, we need to surround it with special characters. We need to use the EJS syntax. EJS syntax is using the angle bracket, percentage symbol, and we need to use the equals symbol. So this over here is EJS syntax, right? So this over here is the name of the variable that we are passing from the controller, from the route, this one over here. All right. Now we need to stop the server again. We stop it and then we run it again. Now we can see the random quote. If you want to display the name of the author, we need to have over here a comma, and then have like by, and then it will be data that first name. Something like this, right? And then you can display by, right? So you can go to the random quote and then have over here an H3 and then use by. This is the name of the variable. Let me make a lowercase. You can have any name. This is like a variable name, right? This is a property name, a variable name. You can call it whatever you want, but you need to use it in the next file. Again, this might be like a way too much just to display a random quote, right? However, there are several benefits of using server-side scripting. Hopefully this will become more clearer as you keep working, as you keep developing new applications.